And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. In December of last year, the City of Prince Rupert Council declared a state of local emergency due to an escalation of water main and water service breaks. The city water system feeds approximately 6 million cubic meters of potable water per year to local residents, businesses, and industry. We begin today's Open Connection with a statement from Premier Eby.
First of all, let me begin by recognizing we're on the territory of the Tsimshian people, and which includes the Metkatla and Laxwalams, and had an opportunity to meet with First Nations leaders yesterday and hear about their work here on the territory and the opportunities for us to work together. So I wanted to thank them for that. Really glad to be joined by the Minister, by the hardworking MLA for the North Coast, and of course, Mayor Pond. Nice to see you here as well. When I come to Prince Rupert, in many ways, it can feel like it's a world away from the Lower Mainland. It's literally the end of the road, Highway 16, but the gateway to the world for British Columbia and for our country. This is the third busiest seaport in North America, fastest growing, and no doubt because you offer the shortest and most direct trade route to Asia. I'm told it's the deepest harbor in North America. I didn't test it, but don't wish to. So I'm going to try to stay on everyone's good side. But certainly a huge economic opportunity and one that you've leveraged significantly here in Prince Rupert. Prince Rupert is a city surrounded by water and lots of it, and ironically, that is one of the reasons we're here today is actually a shortage of water. Everyone in the community deserves a reliable system of drinking water. It's a basic. But for Prince Rupert residents, that hasn't always been the case. Much of the city's infrastructure is aging and in need of renewal. Now, I was just talking with Jordan about he and his team working over the Christmas holidays this year to respond to a state of emergency related to multiple pipe breaks, threatening the holiday season for everyone. If you can't run a bath, run a shower, have drinking water, have water for cooking, it's not much of a holiday season at all. So I want to thank those city workers who spent time away from their families in the trenches in Prince Rupert fixing those pipes. Jordan, thank you to you and your team for that. You saved the day. But we know that's not sustainable. We can't be responding to crisis after crisis in the water system. These are risks we can't take, both for the economic security and the physical security and safety of Prince Rupert residents, but in fact, the entire country. It's time to make up for decades of underinvestment by previous provincial governments, deferral of necessary maintenance and repairs, and we see the cost that comes with that. We couldn't afford short-sighted thinking then, and we certainly can't afford it now. That's why we're going to do things differently, and that's why we're working with our municipal partners to deliver for communities like Prince Rupert. We're supporting communities in the wake of record population growth in our province. Prince Rupert, I know, seeing huge economic growth because of the port. We're building today for a stronger tomorrow, and today I'm very proud to announce that our government is announcing $65 million to upgrade Prince Rupert's aging water distribution system to help ensure reliable, resilient water service for people and industry in the community. Prince Rupert's water distribution system provides water to about 14,000 people and services to those who work at the Port of Prince Rupert. It's critical for the health of the community and the regional economy that people have access to safe drinking water. Today's announcement is just one example of how we're putting BC's surplus to work for people. We're choosing to support communities around BC like Prince Rupert through our Growing Communities Fund as well, and separately, Prince Rupert is going to receive over $4 million. That money can be used to support repairing roads, building community centers and parks, the kinds of amenities and infrastructure that make communities better and more livable for everybody. And now a modern, reliable drinking water distribution system is in the works, because Prince Rupert needs to stay a community that can attract and retain families, a community that can keep growing as an international tourist destination, and a community that fuels our economy by keeping goods moving across BC and around the globe. We believe in a province where everyone can live a good life, where you can afford a decent home and feel safe in your community, where you have access to a family doctor, where your kids are learning in great neighborhood schools, and where local businesses and communities are thriving. This is how we'll reach a better and brighter future in our province. And if we learn one thing, we're not going to get there alone. We have to work together to build the better BC we all deserve. Industry with First Nations, business with workers, all levels of government. Together we'll build a stronger, better, more secure British Columbia in every corner of this beautiful province, including the northwest corner.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs takes leadership in supporting local governments and residents to build vibrant and healthy communities that are well-governed, livable, safe, and economically resilient and socially and environmentally responsible. Let us return to the conversation with Minister of Municipal Affairs, Ann Kang.
So good morning, everyone. I'm just so excited to be here. My name is Ann Kang, and I am the MLA for Burnaby-Deer Lake, but also the Minister for Municipal Affairs. And so my role as Municipal Affairs Minister is to work with local governments in collaboration, in listening to what issues are critical to their communities. And issues that impact the communities that I have heard is Prince Rupert's aging water system. And so, as the Premier has said, and workers in Prince Rupert has been working overtime, especially over the Christmas break. And so during Christmas was my first contact with the Mayor, and we talked about how we need to be working together with senior levels of government, with local governments. And so the province is here supporting Prince Rupert. And we are looking forward to our senior level of government to be supporting as well and joining us. As Premier Eby has mentioned, the investment that we are making today will help ensure people living in Prince Rupert will have reliable access to water now and into the future. And this, of course, will support Port of Prince Rupert, which is a key driver for the economy in BC and across Canada. Ensuring the stable functioning of the port helps the resiliency of the provincial and national supply chains. And we've seen just how important that is during the disruption events, such as the November 2021 flooding in the Lower Mainland. We know that urgent need to update aging infrastructure is not exclusive to Prince Rupert. More people are choosing to live, to work, to study in BC because of the opportunities that families can have here in our beautiful British Columbia. And this has caused an increased demand to our infrastructures here, which puts a strain on local resources. Local governments are working hard to ensure communities are welcoming and vibrant, and we are here to support them. Today's announcement is in addition to the $1 billion Growing Community Fund, which is helping all 188 local governments tackle to their unique infrastructure amenities and needs. And Prince Rupert is getting $4,068,000, and this will be delivered to them before March 31st. And I just can't wait to see how Prince Rupert will be choosing their projects to support the vibrancy and the livability of their community, and I know there's just so much wonderful things happening here. Municipalities and regional districts will be receiving a formal letter from me of the details of the fund, and I am just so excited to see important projects across our province become a reality. We have a strong working relationship, we have a strong friendship, and I look forward to continuing that. Our province, all of our MLAs are working hard with the local governments to listen, to understand, and to take action.
And I hope City Council and the staff will forgive me for sharing this story, but it goes back to UBCM, which just happened recently in fall. And David Eby wasn't yet our premier, but he was running for the leadership, and he was attending the UBCM meeting as many councils and local governments as possible. And Prince Rupert, I guess you might have been feeling a little deflated that day, really fretting about how are we going to afford all that we need to do for fixing up our infrastructure. And someone casually said, well, it'd be really great if we could talk to David Eby. And I was like, oh, he's really busy. That would be really hard. I'll do my best, but I don't count on it. And so everyone had dispersed back to their various hotel rooms. And I mentioned to Eby that my council would really like to talk to you. He's like, yeah, of course, Jen, sure. Yeah, where do you want to meet? And so I'm quickly texting, I think it was Rosa at the time. I'm like, he wants to meet. And everyone, I did it on a group text actually, and everyone's like, I'm already in my jeans. And so they were scrambling and putting on their ties and coming and arriving at this meeting with you, Premier, all in a hurry and a sweat. And we had a really good conversation, and you gave my town an hour of your time, enough time to actually explain the complexities of our infrastructure challenges. And I know from that meeting, you never forgot. And every day you would say to me, whenever I saw him in the legislature or anytime, you would say, how's your pipes, Jen? And I'm just like, I have to just share those two stories because I'm just so excited that you heard us, you remembered us, and you're 150 days in as our leader, and you're delivering for us. So I have shivers. I'm just so grateful. This is a huge lift for our community.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. Each municipal council of BC consists of a mayor and councillors. All members of council have a number of responsibilities while in office. The mayor is the head and chief executive officer of the municipality. The mayor has all the responsibilities of a councillor, plus a number of additional responsibilities. Let us return to the conversation with Prince Rupert Mayor Herb Pond.
I want to acknowledge the territory of the Tsimshian Smellick speaking people. I also want to acknowledge this incredible building that we're in, the Museum of Northern British Columbia, and the people that work here. I also want to acknowledge people who aren't up at the platform right now, but who have joined us, who I think are kind of special in this. And we've got our former MLA, Gary Coons. We've got His Worship, the Mayor of Port Edward, Knut Bjarndal. We've got former Councillor Blair Moreau. And I raised the three of them because just as our MLA has pointed out, this is not a race that was won in the last term, the early term of this council. This has been a marathon where the baton's been passed from one council to another. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge that. I also want to pull back the curtain a little bit for the people of Prince Rupert, because as mayor and council, we get to see things that you don't get to see. And I want to share just a little bit of insight into that. And I want to help frame this. $65 million is a big number. Last night at an event, the Premier was getting close to letting it out, and he actually said, gee, I'm getting too close to letting the cat out of the bag, and that became the analogy all night long, the cat, right? And at one point I said, I've seen the cat. It's a nice cat. It's a pretty big cat. $65 million is so big that I think we lose all comprehension of what $65 million is, quite frankly. It is by far the largest investment that British Columbia has ever made in Prince Rupert in a single moment. You know, basically, I equate to, we're living in a house that needs a lot of repair. For all kinds of reasons, we couldn't afford to do the repairs. The roof's gotten old, you know, the pipes are old. We've got to do some work to repair it. And we know that there's a big bill attached to that. And on a per household basis, the province just lifted, there's about 5,000 households in Rupert, to keep the math easy. Province just lifted about $13,000 off of each and every householder in terms of what we owe to get that work done. Substantial, really substantial. I also want to acknowledge our partners who have made this so possible. You can't see the work that Jen does on our behalf, but she is everywhere. And the Premier is she's quite kind in framing it that he's asking her, but I know she's always asking him, right? That's right. And I haven't gone anywhere in British Columbia or in Canada since I've been elected that I haven't run into Taylor Bachrach. And he has been absolutely available to us at every turn, and I'm absolutely confident that with his help we'll get some help from another senior level of government to have an announcement like this on another date. But the people that are constant, that never get acknowledged, are the staff. And I want to tell the people of Prince Rupert, I'm coming back in after 14 years away, coming back into office, and you have an incredible team at City Hall. They are top-notch. Any other community would kill to have any one of them. And there's four in particular I want to mention, and that's Director Pucci, Director, I'm going to stall Vendatelli, sorry, and Director Miller. Not in the room is our CFO, Corinne Bauman. All four of them are Rupert born and raised. All four of them are products of the public school system right here in Prince Rupert. And they're led by Dr. Buchan, who can't be here today, but he certainly deserves, he's amazing. He does an incredible job of leading this team. Doesn't lift the burden. We're going to go after more funding. We have to, and like any other renovation in a home, it's going to be messy. I want the people of Prince Rupert to know we've got some really messy years in front of us, and we'll explain that. But you don't go digging up this much road without interrupting people's lives. Okay, so we'll talk about that another day. To our corridor partners, to our corridor partners, because this is about a trade corridor, it is one of Canada's most important trade corridors. So whether you're in Vanderhoof or up in the Peace, we know we have a responsibility to be here to keep moving your grain and your energy products and your pellets. And that's what this is about. It's making sure we're healthy so that we can do that.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
The Fairview Container Terminal was the first dedicated ship-to-rail container terminal in North America when it began operation in 2007. In this final segment of Open Connection, Premier Eby shares how the port and BC's Northern Trade Corridor provides vital trade capacity and resiliency for provincial and national supply chains.
When we were talking with Prince Rupert, like, well, what are you able to get done over the next year? How much is that going to cost? And we're looking to our federal partners, recognizing that this is a port city, that the fate of Prince Rupert is tied with the fate of Canada's economy, and that the federal government will be here. We're counting on that. We'll work with Mayor Pond to make sure that that happens. We'll work with MP Bachrach as well. And so our goal is to fully fund Phase 1 in partnership with the federal government and the city. And then the broader question, though, is how do we ensure sustainability for cities in the Northwest? And especially cities that have major projects, resource projects, or the port are examples of this, where they are facing a lot of the costs that come with these major projects, but they don't always see all the benefits. The benefits may flow more broadly to either Victoria, the federal government, or outside of the particular city. We have recently entered into a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, an agreement with cities in this situation. They have organized themselves under the banner of the Resource Benefits Alliance. And the goal of that discussion is to find a way to provide consistent and reliable funding that these cities can rely on in terms of borrowing, in terms of future planning, so we're not doing project-by-project approaches as we're doing here today. We've got a big infrastructure deficit to make up for with these cities. That's what we're doing here today. We're closing that gap. But going forward, that sustainable funding we recognize is absolutely essential. Specific to Rupert and the port, we're at a table with the port, with the Longshore Union, with the city, with ourselves to find ways to work together to build up Prince Rupert. There are areas that are within the Port's authority that they can bring to the table. There are areas within the city's authority, and certainly the province can bring a lot to the table as well to resolve these issues. And I am very optimistic that that table is going to produce good results going forward. The issue of funding and sustainability for cities like Prince Rupert, today's announcement really illustrates why it's so essential we come up with that. Specific to the port tax cap, the amount of that is about $1.5 million a year to Prince Rupert if the cap weren't there, which is significant for Prince Rupert, absolutely, that consistent funding, but at the end of the day is a fraction of what's needed, and is you know, if it sends a message around competitiveness in relation to the port that we don't want to send, the juice might not be worth the squeeze. So that's why we're around the table together, is to find ways to ensure that there's actually adequate funding for Prince Rupert, that we maintain a competitive port environment so the port continues to provide good family supporting jobs and continues to expand. There are issues around how depreciation is handled at the port, all kinds of things for us to talk about. But at the end of the day, the port contributes a lot to British Columbia and Canada, and how do we get some of those benefits to flow back to Prince Rupert in the most constructive way, and that's what we're having the conversation about. When we look at what we're trying to do in British Columbia, is we see significant economic headwinds coming globally. We see central banks raising interest rates around the world. We see economists promising that a recession is coming, that slowdown in growth is coming. And so what we want to do is maintain our growth here in British Columbia and continue to ensure that our economy is secure for people. And part of that means a strong and growing port. It's the fastest growing port right now. We want to continue that growth, but it can't be growth that's not supported by the real economy, which is the people of Prince Rupert, the people of the region, and the city. The port can't function if there's not water. And the $1.5 million a year from the tax cap is not going to fund in 100 years. It will fund what's needed in infrastructure, so we have to move a lot faster than that. I believe that by working with the port, by working with the Longshore Union, by working with the City of Prince Rupert and the province, and ultimately I hope the federal government is part of this discussion as well, we're going to be able to find a sustainable finance mechanism for Prince Rupert, for Terrace, for other communities that are in this situation of having major projects, major revenue generating, economic growth projects that are keeping people employed and supporting communities, as well as seeing the benefits from that. And I don't want to prescribe what that's going to look like. We're going to go to the table with an open mind. We're going to have that conversation, but we see the problem. We all see the problem. Everyone agrees what the problem is. We're going to work together to find that solution. Former Premier Horgan and Melanie Mark, two remarkable people in our legislature, have indicated their intention to step down. We've been waiting for them to set their last days in the legislature. We'll move quickly to call by-elections because both Juan Fuca and the east side of Vancouver need representation in the legislature, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing who will step up and to have people in those seats, while recognizing that filling those shoes, or filling those Doc Martens in the case of the former Premier, will be a challenge, absolutely.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection of his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.